He wants some so bad. But you can't have any, Bubby. It's somehow a week into September already, and I still haven't done a TBR or a wrap up. So that's what we're here to do today. We're gonna go over what I read in August and what I plan to read for September. So grab a drink. I got a mint yerba mate here, the best flavor, hands down. Don't argue with me, argue with your mama. And let's get right into it. Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Scotty Cherie Reads. So we have a little guest here. Don't mind Hugo. He's gonna be sleeping because he is a Velcro dog and can't stay far away from mama. But the way this video is going to be structured is we're going to go over the books that I've read in August. We're going to talk about September reading plans. And then we're going to talk about this thing called HRCYED 2.0. If you know, you know. If not, wait till the end of the video to understand what that is. So to start off, let's get into the books that I read and can wrap up for August. Okay, the first book we're going to talk about was an absolute banger, and that is The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley. As mentioned in my previous TBR video, which I'll have linked above, Layla Motley is a very young author. Her debut was the book Nightcrawling, which I read and did a vlog, which I'll also have linked above. And it was like just okay for me, but I loved her writing. So when this came out in, I believe, June of this year, hold on, let me triple check. Oh, it's not gonna say the month in the book. I'll put it down here. But a new release in 2025, I had to pick it up. The premise sounded great about teenage girls who end up pregnant and they're kind of looking out for themselves and kind of coming of age and becoming mothers. And it was fantastic. I gave it 4.5 stars. I read this in like a day and a half. It was so captivating. This is a book that has, I believe, at least 3 different perspectives. The main character is Adela, who's 16 and pregnant, and she lives in Indiana, of all places, that's where I'm from, and she gets pregnant, her parents find out, and they basically shoo her to Florida to live with her grandmother until she has the baby, which she'll give up for adoption and then come back home because Adela has so much going for her in terms of academics, and she's a phenomenal swimmer that is on the track to becoming an Olympian. So Adela at the beginning is going down to Florida to spend time with the grandmother, and very quickly Adela finds this group called The Girls. And in the group, we really focused on Emery, who has a newborn. She meets her in high school, and Emery is doing whatever she can to keep going. Even though she has a newborn, that's not stopping her from graduating, you know? And then there is Simone, who is our main third perspective, who is the mother of 4-year-old twins, and she's pretty much the head of this group called The Girls. And the girls basically kind of live and get guidance under Simone because Simone's the one who started it, and Simone has just been on her own with the twins, who are 4 at this point, and she lives in like this red pickup truck, and that's where they're at, like in the woods, and all of these girls are kind of around and they just look out for each other. And that's pretty much all I want to say. There is some conflict in this book. Adela, who moves and is new to Florida, finds herself entangled in these situationships and relationships that complicate her relationship with the girls who she's formed a bond with. And as time goes on and seeing these other teenage moms being a mother, Adela is starting to grapple with, you know, does she want to give birth to this kid and then put it up for adoption? What does she want to do? And that's all I want to say. If you can't see, I tabbed the hell out of this. I want to reread this soon. It was fantastic. I was totally immersed in this book. I was completely invested in all 3 perspectives, which is hard to do, like I say, in multiple POV books. But whether it was Adela, Emery, or Simone, like I was just ready to continue to go on and see how their stories were interconnected and what was happening with each individual girl. This is also a topic that's very interesting to me because I've had some friends who and cousins and family members and stuff who went through teenage pregnancy. It's such an interesting world that I just can't even conceive like for myself or what it would be like. It's hard for me to even conceive it like a 31-year-old who's married for multiple years of having and bringing a child into this world, let alone being like 16 years old and having to decide that. But yes, if you have not picked this up yet, definitely look at the trigger warnings. You guys know I like heavy books, but this was great. I'm thinking about doing an in-depth review of this book. Let me know in the comments below if that sounds interesting to you. But yeah, this was a great start to the month for sure. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about my TBR jar picks, which I started last month. I'm going to be picking 2 little cards that I did last month. Hold on, let me grab it. Okay, so I picked Gaio, I think that's how you say it, by Junji Ito, and Othello by Shakespeare. I did not get around to Othello, so I need to put that back into the TBR jar. But I did read Gaio, and it was a 5 out of 5 star. So this is a manga by Junji Ito. If you guys don't know, I love Junji Ito. However, I don't want to say much about these books because it's just an experience of going along with the characters to see what they are obsessed with, because it's a very heavy horror obsession, body horror type of stories that he tells. So I'm just going to read it here. It says, "The floating smell of death hangs over the island. What is it? A strange-legged fish appears in the scene. So begins Tadashi and Kaori's spiral into the horror and stench of the sea. Here is the creepiest masterpiece of horror manga ever from the creator of Uzumaki, Junji Ito. Hold your breath until all is revealed." I know that doesn't sound like much, but basically go into it as these rotten things come out of the sea, and the stench is just unbelievably terrible, and they can do something to humans where they start to kind of take over. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, Uzumaki was great. It's the first Junji Ito that I read, but Junji Ito can do no wrong. Yeah, if you're interested in horror manga, definitely check this out. I think this is a good place to start with Junji Ito as well. The next book I read is seemingly kind of random because I don't think I talked about it in my last TBR video, but I read it for one of the local book clubs that I participate in, and that is called One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia. It's a middle grade book, and it basically takes place in the summer of 1968, and we follow this group of 3 young girls who are sisters. We have 11-year-old Delphine and her 2 younger sisters. I can't remember their names, but Delphine is the main character. And basically, they grow up in Brooklyn with their grandparents, but at this point, their mom has been, missing in their life and kind of left when when the youngest kid was born. And they've just been with their grandparents this whole time, but it is during this summer that they are now going to Oakland, California, all the way across the nation to spend a summer with their biological mother. Biological mother doesn't really want anything to do with the kids, and the kids are kind of having to be adults out there and figure stuff out. However, their mother is part of the Black Panther movement, and there is this building that they can go and get free food and have summer classes and summer camp and stuff. So the kids go there every day, and we kind of go with the kids of how they're understanding what the Black Panther movement is, because obviously, not obviously, but their grandparents have kind of put stuff in their ears about how bad it is. Sorry, hold on, my dog is drinking a bunch of water if you can hear that, but they've told them about how, they're kind of more the MLK route and not so much Black Power and taking what's yours and not taking what's yours, but creating your own space, And yeah, I thought it was interesting. I gave it a 3.5 star read. I did pick up the second one, however, from the library because I want to continue the series. I believe there are 3 total. So there's PSB11, which I haven't read yet. We'll see if I get to it this month, but yeah, I want to continue with the series. I thought it was good. I thought it was a unique take in terms of talking about the Black Power movement, especially for a middle grade audience. I don't think I've ever seen that before. So if that sounds intriguing to you, definitely pick it up. It's a quick read. I read it in one sitting. All right, and next up, I decided to reread The Long Walk by Stephen King. If you're new here, hi, I am attempting to read Stephen King's books in publication order. I am currently in the middle of The Shining. I still have not finished this. And honestly, when I tell you my September plans, I think that I'm going to ultimately push this to finishing in October. This is a reread for me as well, but I'm excited to read this. I think this will be a good fit for October. However, I did pick up and read The Long Walk again because there's a movie adaptation that's coming out the 12th of this month, September, and I want to be there and seated and watch it because I love this story. I gave it a 4.5 star out of 5 the first time I read it years ago, and this time around I just gave it a 4. I think some things could have been taken out. It is just about a long walk. So it's in this kind of dystopian future where these young boys that are under 18 can sign up for this long walk. And there will be 100 kids, and they start, when it's time for them to start, they start in Maine, which is the hometown or home state of our main character, Garrity, and they just walk and walk until there's only one remaining. So basically they have 3 warnings if they go below, I believe it's 4 miles per hour. And after the 3rd warning, they are shot. And that is the entire story. The walk starts immediately, and we end with the end of the walk. And the reason why I give it 4 stars is because it's just under 400 pages. And this time around, I felt like there were some things that could have been taken out. But when I sit and ponder on it, I feel like that's also the reason why Stephen King did this, because of the monotony of what this walk would be like, walking for 4+ days, you know? Yeah, this is a masterpiece. I like that premise sounds interesting, but that's legitimately all that happens. That is the plot and that's it. It's so character focused. And that it just sounds like it would be so boring, or it could be like a 150, 200 page story, but it works with double that. And it's like 400 pages. And I don't know how he does it. It was just as good the second time around. If you haven't read this book, please pick it up. If you need a reason to pick it up, like I said, the movie adaptation comes out, and look out this month, because once I watch the movie adaptation, I will do a video comparison of the print version and the movie adaptation. So be on the lookout for that. Oh, I did want to say that the long form in-depth reviews of each book that I've read so far will be coming out. I know I said that Carrie was going to be out last month, but I think I'm going to start in October during spooky season. Life has just been lifing. So yeah, so that's the only review I'm going to say about The Long Walk for now. But eventually when I get to that point, I believe this one comes after The Stand, I will do an in-depth video about this book from front to end. So yeah, just want to let you know I'm not doing that right now. We'll do that once it comes in publication order, but yeah, this was great. Okay, and really quickly, we're going to talk about I am in the middle of Semi-Well Adjusted by Allison Stoner. Hold on, let me see what the full title of this book is. One second. Okay, it says Semi-Well Adjusted Despite Literally Everything, a memoir by Allison Stoner. So if you don't know, Allison Stoner was a Disney Channel star. She actually got her debut off of Missy Elliott's music video, but I really liked her as a kid, you know, early 2000s, I admired her, and it is her memoir, and I was just eager to pick it up. I'm about 60% of the way in and loving it so far. I'll give my rating in my next video and for my September wrap up, but I am listening to that actively. And then, as you guys know, I was doing 2 secret vlogs, and I have read books for those that I finished in August, and those vlogs will be coming out shortly. But just a reminder, I have these 3 books and a 4th one I'll put up here, which is A Short Stay in Hell, Blood Over Bright Haven, This Is How You Lose the Time War, and Pure Nessie, which I'm reading physically. I just don't have it with me right now. That's one part of the vlog. Also guess if you haven't guessed yet in the comments below. And for the second vlog, I have these 3 books and one more. I have 100 Years of Solitude, Never Let Me Go, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, and Kafka on the Shore is the last one. So I have finished quite a bit of these books, but I don't want to review them here because you're gonna see them in the blogs. So yeah, that's everything for what I read actively working on from August. Let's get into what I plan on reading this month. All right, so for September, as I said, for those vlogs we just talked about, I'm still continuing that. Those will be out. Both of those videos, vlogs will be out this month. Other than that, I will be reading for my local friends book club. Of all things, I'll be picking up Ice Planet Barbarians. If you don't know what it's about, it is a weird alien, very spicy romance that is a quick read. It's less than like 200 pages. So that's what I'm going to pick up. I have no idea how I'm going to feel about it, but stay tuned to see in October how I felt about that one. I mentioned I'm still reading The Shining, but I will probably push this to October, and I won't pick up a Stephen King this month, I don't believe, because there is not a secret project, but a cool vlog idea that I am going to be working on. We're gonna get into that, but first, I want to get into my TBR jar pulls. So, these are all of my unread books from my Kindle and my physical TBR, which is absurd. I do want to say I've probably read over half of my physical books, but it's just too much. So I'm going to put Othello back in since I didn't ultimately read it. If you guys are new here, I don't even know how I wrap this up, to be honest. I'm going to pick two, and then if I can get to both of them, awesome. But if not, it gives me a little pick up to what I want to read. And yeah, so I'm going to put Othello back in one. I'm gonna push it down in there. We're going to shake this up really quickly. I mean, I don't know how much because it's pretty tight in there, but we're gonna pick one from here. You guys can see I'm not really looking. Hugo wants to help. Let's see. Okay, so I picked a green one. I'm gonna have to go and see what this genre was. I don't remember. So that's green from the first one. Hugo, leave it. Good boy. Then we have the second one. All right, not gonna look. And we have an orange. Let me go get my little cheat sheet to see what the genres are before opening these up. 1 second. Okay, I'm back with my little cheat sheet because I could not remember, but it says green is contemporary and orange is fantasy or sci-fi. So let's start with the green and let's see what I picked. So we have Blues Sisters by Coco Mellers. I will go get that book and read the synopsis for you, but that's not looking too bad. I'm interested in that book. And then for the orange, we have, The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. So let me go get those two books and I'll be right back to go over what they're about. Alrighty, I have them both here. And honestly, I'm intrigued with both of them. I feel like however I mood read, if I need a fantasy or a hard-hitting contemporary, it'll just figure it out. I have a lot of reading plans for this month, so I'm kind of leaning towards Blue Sister because it's shorter. Okay, let's just get into what Blue Sister is about. So quickly, all I know is that this follows 4 sisters and one of the sisters ends up passing away, and it follows the other 3 remaining sisters and how they deal with grief, their various jobs, all of those type of things. So that's all I want to know going into it. I remember this got a lot of buzz from Book of the Month, which I got it from, and Goodreads, the Goodreads Choice Awards. And I've seen like mixed reviews. Some people were like 5 out of 5 stars. Some people were saying it's very whitewashed and basic. So I don't know. I'm intrigued still to see where I fall. I believe this came out last year. Let me see. Yeah, 2024. So that's option 1. And the second one is about an adult female pirate, I believe. I don't want to go into this knowing much. I'm eager to pick this up because one, Shannon Chakraborty is a lot of my like favorite like YouTubers, booktube, book friends, like one of their favorite authors because of the City of Brass trilogy, or whatever that one is that I'll put on the screen. And I haven't read that yet. This is the newest release. It came out in February 2023. This is a really pretty Fairy Loot edition. I have since canceled Fairy Loot, but this is a really pretty edition. But I'm intrigued with more pirate stories because I read Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson last year and really loved it. And that was really my first pirate story. And this one has been suggested to me if I really liked that one and if I'm just trying to get into pirate stories. So that's all I really want to know. So yeah, if you have a preference, let me know down below which one you would like me to read this month. As I mentioned briefly in this part of the video, I had said that I have extensive reading plans for this month. So I have the previous 2 surprise vlogs, and then I have another big vlog, which I'm not sure if I'm gonna like split it into 2 parts or have one big vlog. But I saw this idea from Meg at Meg with Books, who I'll have linked below. And she went to the Goodreads page and saw this article, which let me screen record really quickly for you guys. And it says, the readers hit new books of the year so far. So from January to June, it goes in for each genre and lists a few books that have gotten a lot of buzz and seem like, you know, they're good contenders for what was the best for the first half of the year. And I was really interested in doing this because I want to do something with the Goodreads Choice Awards this year. I don't know if it means I'm going to read one genre all the way through or read the winners of each one or the first 2, but I want to do some sort of content with that. So I figured this was a good way to have read and reviewed some of the books that I think potentially will be on that list. So I'm gonna bring you guys down here really quickly because I'm not gonna go into too much detail, just look out for those vlogs, but I've been collecting books from the library that were on that list. So right now, here I have Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, The Dream Hotel by Layla Lamani, Deep End by Ali Hazelwood, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which I bought, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I bought, and One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akid, which I also bought. So there are some other ones that's on that list, but I'm not going to go into too much because I'm not sure if I'm going to read every single genre, but I'm definitely going to be pulling books from there, which were some of my anticipated releases of the beginning of this year and some of the most popular books of the year so far. So I'm excited to see where I fall and to get a little bit under my belt before all of the awards seasons start to happen. That's my plans for September. Now, grab a drink because we are going to get into what HRCYED 2.0 is. Okay, I'm going to try to make this quick, but this is what we call the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do 2.0. So this is a reading challenge that I was not aware of. It's the second time around. It is an annual, yearly, or year-long readathon that is hosted by Cordy or Stephanie over at Cordy. I'll have all this stuff linked below. And I saw this from Ashley over at Realm of Kidlit Comics. And even though I don't need to be participating in another readathon, this looked so great. It's a year-long readathon. And I think that it's cool because I'm going to be able to read down my physical TBR, which is something that I'm working on. So before I get everyone super confused about it, I'm just gonna screen record my computer so that you guys can see what I am talking about. Alrighty, I think that you guys can see I'm gonna make myself a little small, but this reading challenge, basically what you're trying to do is fill this bingo board. And all of these bingo boards are, this bingo board has different prompts. One second. Like by the 100s, 24-hour readathon, XYZ. We're gonna go through what each of these means, but you're either gonna wanna make a bingo across the board like normal, or you can do what a lot of people are trying to do and black out the board. And that's what I'm trying to do within a year's time. So I started this July 1st, or I went back to July 1st, that's when this starts, and the books that I've read, I added to these challenges. As you can see, I have completed one here, but don't get too into this. As we go through, it's going to make more sense. But yeah, so basically any book that you read, it can count for a maximum of 2 prompts, and that's it. So as you see, there are a bunch of different challenges that are here, but within each challenge, there are multiple prompts. For instance, we can look right here, and it says the even bigger rainbow. It says even bigger because they did HRCYED 1 last year. I didn't participate. So this time around, they've changed some stuff. Even bigger, they added even more colors. So that basically means you need to read a book with a red cover, a yellow cover, an orange cover, XYZ as you keep going through the rainbow. So that's just an example. So yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. Here's some of my stats so far. We're not going to get into that. Basically, you are going to read your book and put it into the spreadsheet, but let's get into the prompts first. I feel like that makes the most sense to explain. So, for instance, the first challenge that you could do is by the 100s, where you are reading basically a book that's within 100 to 199 pages, 200 to 299, so forth and so on. And going up to 700, it can be 700 and above. As you can tell, some of the books that I've read, I've fit them in here for one of those prompts. There's one of the squares in the bingo card is 24-hour readathon, where you basically have to see how much you can read in a 24-hour period. And that doesn't mean starting and stopping a clock. That means when you wake up to when you close your eyes, how much you can get. And either you fall asleep before the 24-hour window, or within that 24-hour window, if you can stay awake that long, how many books can you finish during that time? Not sure when I'll do that, but that'll be fun. Subgenre of choice. I picked fantasy. I have not picked what subcategories. Like you can see adventure, apocalyptic, autobiographical, contemporary. So it can be anything that's on here, but I need to read 6 of those. Series staircase is the next challenge. You read 1 solo, a duology, a trilogy, and then a series that has either 4 in its finished or 4 or more. Say it's an 8-book series, but you need to read 4 or more out of that series to complete it, and you have to complete all of that just to get the series staircase. So you guys can see how this is going to start adding up. Quickly, let's keep going. Next challenge is the award season. So for instance, I'll probably do the Goodreads Choice Award, and it says you have to read 2 winners, 2 finalists, 2 semifinalists, and 1 entrant. And once you do all of that, that will turn to green on the bingo board. TBR game challenge. You can't use your own TBR game if you have one, but you can use someone else's. And I follow so many people on YouTube, BookTube, that I'm not sure whose I'll pick, but that'll be fun 1 month, so look out for that. The last 10 years, as explained, just read a book that's published in that year from 2015 to 2005. Or, 2015 to 2025. You can see I've filled some in there. Adaptations, this one's going to be difficult for me. So you can read either the printed version or watch the adaptation that's there. And you need to read a modern retelling or watch either one. You don't have to do both, which is great. A musical, graphic novel or comic, which you can see here, Gaio. For instance, I read it, but I haven't watched the anime yet. I plan to, but you don't have to. So that's what I use for that. You have to use a play, TV show, web series, animation, and a movie. I do have The Long Walk here, even though it doesn't come out till the 12th, but I'm going to go watch it. But however, you don't need to watch it because I just read it, and I know that there is an adaptation. So there's that. Disability challenge, there's 5 different prompts, and they have to all be different. So say you have someone with anxiety, then that's 1 checked off, and you need to find someone with like depression or bipolar disorder or whatever it is. So 5 different disability books, or that's shown in books. Heritage months. So I normally do this anyway, but it doesn't have to be within that month. So for instance, July is already gone for disability rep, and I missed it because I didn't read one. It doesn't have to be within that month, but it does have to be within the 12-month period. Moving forward, I'm going to start trying to read them in the month. So for instance, Hispanic Heritage Month, I have The Hacienda, which I plan on reading in October for spooky season, and hopefully moving forward with that and reading 1 book for each Heritage Month within the month. Translation challenge. You have to read 5 books that are translated in 5 different Englishes. Whoa, I need some more yerba mate. 5 different languages. I already have done Japanese, so I can't do Japanese again. We'll see how that goes. Around the world is a challenge. You have every continent. Antarctica is a bonus. You don't have to, but gotten some of those so far. As I mentioned, the even bigger rainbow challenge, you can see here, there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books there. Then we have make a quote. So read through a beloved quote. You get to pick whatever quote you want. And the quote that I picked is "The time is always right to do what is right" by Martin Luther King Jr., which is 10 words, which means I need to read 10 books that have each individual word in the title. That's going to be a lot. There's spooky creatures, so there's vampire, shifter, magic user, fae folk, spirit, merfolk, zombie, and any other creature. So that's a total of 8 books there. You can see how this is becoming the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. We're almost there. So becoming the avatar, you have to either read a book with the word water, earth, fire, or air in the title or on the cover. I'm going with the covers. I feel like that's going to be a lot easier. I've already put King of Ashes there, as you can tell. Readathon challenge is the one that you saw that was green because I finished it. I read The Good House for July Noir, which is a segment of Black Halloween that happens in October. And that one book fulfilled everything that I needed for that readathon, so I completed it. So that is one challenge that I have officially done. So there's that. Animals. This one's going to be kind of a hard one for me. I'm sure as the year goes by, I'm going to be asking your opinions for these because I'm not really sure. So it has to focus on a house pet, exotic pet, farm animals, wild animals, zoo animals, all, and like they have to be a part of the story. So those are 5 different books there. Queer alphabet, gay, lesbian, bisexual, pan, transgender, intersex, asexual, polyamory, non-binary, agender, gender fluid, and two-spirit. Need to read a book from all of those that feature either a main character or an author. Then this is the bingo board from HRCYED Part 1, which happened last year. So you have to pick one of the challenges that you like and fulfill that. We'll see what I end up doing. There are a lot of cool options that are here. BIPOC challenge. You have to read, I believe, 10 BIPOC authors. This one you can double up. So if you wanted them all to be Black, you could. I'm going to try to intermix some that are in there, but I do read BIPOC most of the time. And a lot of the times I read Black authors. So I feel like this will be easy for me. And a lot of them will be Black authors. New releases. So you have 60 days, I believe 60 days after the release date to read a book, and you have to read one each month. So for instance, I read, for June, I read The Girls Who Grew Big. I read that last month, but that was within the 60-day window, so I marked that for June. Right now, as I said, I'm listening to Semi Well Adjusted by Allison Stoner, and that came out in July, I believe. So I'll be able to put that in this spot here when I finish it in September, and I'll just be moving forward with that going forward. Challenge yourself. You create your own challenge. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I'm not going to focus on it. And then we have a nonfiction challenge. You need to read 5 different subgenres of nonfiction. So, for instance, I have a science and history one here. I have humor. I couldn't do science and history again. I could do like history and war, just something different. So 5 different subgenres. And then the last one that fulfills the bingo board is Q's recommendations. So you need to read a book from Q, who's Cordy or Stephanie, who runs the readathon, from their mini reviews, from their full reading vlogs, and the YouTube short. All of those playlists are listed below. So you have to read 3 books specifically that Q recommends. So that is a lot, but as you see, I'm excited to do this. I'm just gonna read as normal and then just figure out what prompt each book falls into. And we'll see where it's at. But what I like about this is that it forces you to pick books that you might not normally pick up, you know? You might read this specific type of disability and you realize, okay, I read the same 3 types of disability, so like what are 2 other ones that I haven't read from before? It's to read openly and more diversely, and I think that that is always great, and I love that I can just shop my shelves and fulfill this challenge, hopefully, by the end of the year. Really quickly, you can see my tracker here. So for instance, for Shiver, I read that in July. I counted it for the last 10 years, which I counted for 2015. That's when I read it, so I put that image there. And then I counted it also for the Japanese translation, for the translations bubble. As you can see, let me just show you, last 10 years, you can see Shivers there. And you can see for translation challenge, Shivers there. So that's all I want to talk about for this. I will see how long it takes me to do the HRCYED 2.0 updates. If I can add them to the end of my wrap-ups each month and just leave it to the end, so if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to, or you can skip ahead and watch it. Or if I'm getting a little too in-depth about some of this, I might just do my own videos of just HRCYED 2.0 like updates. We'll see. Let me know down below what you think about it. But yeah, let me know if you also are interested in doing the HRCYED challenge. I'll have everything linked below, as I said. But that is all that I have for this video. Hopefully it's not too long. It feels great to be back, excited for the books I have to read in September. Let me know what your reading plans are for the month of September. And until then, I will chat with y'all in the comments. Thanks for being here. See ya. Bye.